Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to On Point. This episode is going to be with the Lethal Podcast crew. It's a collaborative episode, and they're doing more of the interviewing. Matt's kind of the lead interviewer in this one. Anyways, we have their crew and myself on the podcast for kind of a roundtable discussion about the archery industry, where we all came from, our platforms, things that we need to see improve or get better within the community of hunting, and just kind of a broad topic and discussion about the archery industry and the hunting industry in general. But outside of that, really enjoyed these guys. The Lethal Podcast is a very unbiased. They don't pull punches. They're not afraid to tell you what products work. Definitely not afraid to tell you what products don't. And then really help you decide what is your best setup, arrow selection, and stuff like that. So really enjoyed this podcast. These guys are awesome. And if you want to go check them out, there'll be a link in the description box below. Or you can just type in Lethal Podcast, and they'll pull up on most platforms where podcasts are available. Still available for the listeners here is the On Point 10 code for Jimmy Tarps. That is ONPOINT 10, On Point 10, all one word. You can go on to jimmytarps.com, get your 10% off your order, and save some money, and also support an awesome company with a great product. So if you're looking for backcountry shelters, bivy sacks, meat bags, high quality meat bags, very durable, reusable, Jimmy Tarps has got you covered, and really enjoy learning a lot from Jimmy and his family there. And I'll be using his shelters this year in Idaho backcountry. So go be sure check them out if you're looking for shelters. Want to learn more? You can always get a hold of Jimmy, but that is www.jimmytarps.com, and you can go get 10% off with your On Point 10 code. So outside of that, hopefully you guys enjoy this podcast, and I'll talk to you at the end. Bye.
We're excited to hang out with Garrett tonight. He's been doing this podcast thing for about a year now, he said? Right?
May 7th, I downloaded my first episode, so it's just over a month, or a year and a month. So
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So we're both kind of newbies in the podcast arena, and Garrett Fairchild, one of our hosts, kind of turned us on to Garrett's. Man, see, this is not going to be good.
On point, you say on point.
Should we just do Weaver and Fairchild?
Weaver is fine. That is totally cool.
All right. Fairchild turned us on to Weaver's podcast, and we've been listening to a couple of them the last couple of weeks as they've been coming out, and like the guy, I think we stand for a lot of the same thing. We wanted to hang out and do an episode together. So thanks for joining us. I'm glad to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So I think both of our podcasts and your YouTube channel specifically, I want you to talk about that. Both of our podcasts and your YouTube channel revolve around kind of, helping people and educating people and offering insight with hands-on experience with certain pieces of gear that they may otherwise not get the chance to go out and touch and feel. What has been your experience and your feedback in being able to provide that help to people that need it?
It's really, really empowering and rewarding, honestly. I mean, like everybody says, when you give a gift, you get a lot more back, like endorphins, and your brain does a whole bunch of sorts of things when you give a gift. And it's been harder than I expected coming out with a bunch of videos. We have over 100 videos now. A lot of those are podcast videos. But I'm probably around 80 to 90 how-to videos probably, or just archery videos. And so that's in like a 3.5 year span. So
man, that's a lot of time.
It's a lot of work. Yeah. What the hell do you talk about in your 90th, something video? So, I mean, it's I basically, it's really rewarding to answer your question. And I didn't know that people were so hungry for information, and there's a lot of reasons why I started mine, but a lot of them weren't good reasons. I just wanted to show how far I could shoot a bow originally. So it was just a selfish, douchish standpoint, like I bought the Halon and I was shooting it lights out, and it's just like, I'm going to get noticed by shooting it 200 yards and yeah. So, and then guys are like, well, how are you doing that? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, let me think about it, and I'll get back to you. And so I started like getting gear lifts together, my arrow setup, everything, and kind of just snowballed into what it is today.
Right. Yeah.
So, but what about you guys? How'd you guys start off?
Well, I guess the thought of our podcast started probably, I don't know how long. When was the first? 2 years ago, probably
2-3 years ago. Yeah,
it was a long time before we actually pulled the trigger and started.
What took so long?
Yeah. Everyone thinking someone else was going to do it. Well,
yeah,
I'm not going to name names. Someone else did try and do one, and it didn't do very well.
It was awful. It's better to just not say.
Yeah, we're gonna keep that one to ourselves. But it was actually well. If you want to talk about douchey intentions, I guess
our intentions were not the best either.
When we very first started, I said I want to absolutely crush this podcast in like the first month. I literally went and followed them on all their social media, and I was like here are their numbers. I want to beat all of their numbers in 30 days, and then we did. It wasn't anyone very big, but it was someone from our community that we didn't feel best represented us, and they were the first ones to jump in to do it. Which I mean, Ken. I guess good on them for doing it. But then it quickly spiraled in a direction that we knew it was going to go. Yeah. I guess that was our douchey intention, or at least mine.
No, I was in the same boat. It's I don't like this person being the one speaking for our quote unquote community.
Right.
Interesting.
It was just going down that same direction of the way that everybody, all the Insta famous people want to go. You could tell that they were trying to, I can't think of the right word right now. Pander, I guess, to the mainstream.
Yeah, I think pander's a good word.
Community, and that's not we're more of the alternative community. I think both of our podcasts are, because we try to not be biased as far as don't have sponsors, don't want sponsors, want to be able to say whatever the hell we want.
Right. So this guy was, we'll just call him Ken, because Dane Cook has that joke about there's a Ken in every group. So Ken was trying to just be, get his way into the industry, or, I mean, he's just kind of being...
Yes, well, this individual was most definitely trying to get into the industry. And...
for the... for the
all the wrong reasons,
for the
typical reason, typical reasons that everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people see these days do.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's pretty common anymore now.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody wants to be that person that gets the most likes or whatever, and that's unfortunately, I've gone through phases where it's what's important, and then. Just, when I'm doing things that don't come natural or aren't genuine, I just feel dirty. Even when I'm out there hunting, I'm taking a photo. I'm like, why am I taking this photo? This isn't what I would do if I didn't have a freaking Instagram. Why am I doing this? And it's
still kind of how I feel about filming hunts and whatnot too. It's just because I don't like my voice. 2, it just feels unnatural to film things, but. Then I come back, then I think back on it. I'm like, man, I really wish I could share that with other people, especially when I'm by myself, and the stuff that I see and encounter. It's that was really awesome. I really wish other people could see it and experience it with me, but I didn't turn the damn camera on.
Yeah.
Right? Well, my turkey hunting film this year, I had a couple of them. That was really fun. That was legitimately fun filming, and one of them was self-filmed, and then the other one I had my best friend and my one of my other really good friends. And I'm like, I just want people to see how we are. I just want people to actually understand how big of a dork I am and how much fun we have. We're
always dicking off.
Yeah, and it's funny. I don't turkey hunt. This is the first year I've ever actually tried to kill a turkey.
Did you like it?
It was fun.
Hell yes, you liked it.
It was fun. It was fun. I'll be doing it more.
Turkey hunting is fun. I don't care what you say.
Yeah.
Fairchild and Blaine. Turkey hunting is a good time.
I told
it
you
is a good time
because I'm not good at it. That's why it pisses me off.
Exactly. Same here.
I suck at it, but in Roseburg, you can suck and still kill something with it when it comes to turkey hunting. So
I could probably, if I'd spent a weekend doing it out at my buddy's place, I could kill a damn turkey. But
hell yeah.
I'd rather spend that weekend doing something else, like chasing bears.
Yeah, I was gonna say bear hunting.
Okay, well that's a little different, I guess. Man, coming from Missouri, we're like a top 3 turkey state in the country, and and my farm specifically, I'm saying all this, and I had the worst turkey hunting year ever. But my farm is just like a gold mine. Like, I mean, we've taken so many big birds off our property, and I grew up and just growing up, I completely fell in love with turkey hunting, and it's the poor man's elk. We get to finally have a little interaction with the animal that we're hunting, because we don't really get that with whitetail. It's a good time. So don't hate on me for hunting my baby dinosaur elk, Garrett.
If that's all that I had to hunt now, I would. But turkey season's the same time as fall turkey is, but turkey season's the same time as bear season. So the fact that I had a bear tag, I'm gonna go chase bears.
Kind of a no-brainer.
I'm in the middle. I'm in the same boat, but one evening I didn't have enough time to go kill a bear and then take care of it the next day. So I was like, I can go kill a turkey. I can do that. And and actually, like, I'm not my subscriber base isn't about turkey hunt videos, so I got like less than probably 1,000 views on both of them. But the ones that watched it were like, "That's my favorite turkey hunt video I've ever seen." I'm like,
really? I'm gonna have to check it out. You put it on your YouTube video or on your YouTube page?
Yeah, like we're me and my buddy are having like a calling contest, like out in the woods, because we both suck so bad. Like we're using this scratch call. I call it the little douche. And it says little deuce on there, and so we're like scratching it. My buddy is like awkwardly staring at the camera, focusing on, but he's like scraping it like so hard, and it looks like he's a serial killer. It's like, what the fuck? What am I watching here? And it's just a bunch of fun because we know we suck, and we know like if we just keep trying, we're gonna get a shot. So, and it ended up being a spot and stock. And
nice. Best one, man. Best type.
Yeah, because our turkey calls weren't working. I don't know why. And it's just a lot of fun, man. And like we introduce people into the Taylor Swift thing. Our hunting group has, and it's just a bunch of fun. Just probably how everybody is out there in the woods when they don't have a camera. But we treated it like we didn't have a camera, and it was just a really fun time. It was actually one of the funnest edits I've done. It was a blast.
Yeah, I'm
still
kind of
yet to make it through my elk season footage, but like there were no animals on the ground as a result of the whole season. But I know that I got some good stuff on film, so I need to make something out of it. Like at least just all of the parts of us dicking off and making stuff almost happen.
Yeah, yeah. I got like probably 15 minutes of Anthony crop dusting me this year. That was awesome. Because every time I'm following him, like he'd like turn around and have like this like shitty smile. I'm like, you motherfucker.
I know again, what you just did.
Again, like we are on a 350 bowl and you're farting. What if the wind switches? And let's just shit like that, man. I mean, that's us. That's what we do, and it's fun to actually start sharing that with people. And my hunting partners hate filming in the moment, but when we go back and I edit or I show them the footage, like, okay, that might have been worth it. I'm like, damn straight, that's worth it. Even if it's just for us,
I always feel awkward, like turning the camera. Like I'm usually the one with the camera because it's my camera. So like here. I'm usually the one filming, and then my friends look over. They're like, "What are you doing?" Like I'm filming, man. I'm trying to.
Yeah. Well, when I buddies film,
we're trying to be like born and raised. You're hushing. I'm like, dude, no, I just want to. Never mind.
Yeah, haters gonna hate, man. That's all I can say about that.
Like you'll be happy later when you see how cool this is when you shoot a bull.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Then when you shot something, I know you're going to turn around and say, "Did you get it on film?"
Yeah.
Exactly. No, you yelled at me to turn it off.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, that's funny. So what prompted you to do the switch? Because we're the four of us. Rob's not here tonight, but the four of us are just a bunch of nobodies, and apparently that's a problem to some people. But we're just a bunch of nobodies, and we didn't have any type of social media platform at all before this. So what made you decide to you have made a switch, but to do a podcast in addition to doing your YouTube videos?
I was actually talked into it. The Born and Raised guys, they're here locally too, and their office is just I could run to their office and be there in like 10 minutes. And
oh wow!
So they're like, it's probably the future, and if they convinced me, long story short, into doing the podcast, and I hesitantly started thinking about it, and then like 2 years ago at Hoodoo, almost to this day, could have been this day because it was first week of June. I was talking to some buddies up on the hill. I was actually shooting the course. I didn't have a podcast at the time. And they're talking about podcasts. I'm like, you guys, I can't believe you guys do that. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I can't believe you guys listen to podcasts. And they're like, why? I'm like, because I'm not going to pay $250 to listen to some dude talk about stuff. And they're like, what are you talking about, dude? I'm like, you have to pay to listen to podcasts, right? It's like $2 an episode, something stupid. They're like, no. I'm like, and they're like, it's free. And I'm like, so they start all three of them gang up on me and like, you'd never heard of the Joe Rogan podcast? I'm like, I've never, the Fear Factor dude? Yeah, I've heard of him. And so, long story short, from that moment, I downloaded my first podcast, listened to it on the way home, and then literally a year later, I am uploading my first podcast. And so, just got some good advice from some guys that are really big in the industry, and it's where they were headed too. And so I figured, you know what, these guys know better than me, and I eventually would like to do this for a living. So I started my podcast, and that's really where it began. Was just getting kind of talked into it. But,
yeah. Huh. Yeah. Well, that's funny. Yeah, it's almost like a given if you run across a 25 to 30-year-old male that they are astute listeners of the Joe Rogan podcast.
Every day,
just like a given. Like,
yeah.
If you want to be an intellectual, you have to listen to the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah,
one of those Facebook podcaster groups or whatever is like a lot of people are anti Joe Rogan for some reason. I'm like, do you realize that the way you're making your living via your podcast would not be possible without that man?
Yeah,
I don't.
Yeah. There's Facebook groups for podcasters.
Oh yeah.
Oh man!
Oh, now we're teaching you things.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah,
that's how Matt became an almost expert at Audacity.
Yeah, I am an Audacity guru at this point because
I tried it. Didn't do it.
No, what do you edit in? Premiere?
Premiere, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I stick with what I know. I tried Audacity one time, trying to convert Wave to MP3 one time, and I couldn't.
Oh yeah,
I couldn't do any of it, man. It was like, I know what I was looking at. I just gave up.
Well, I guess I'm a bit of a group junkie on Facebook. Like any hobby I'm like interested in, I'll go and I'll find like the 5 biggest Facebook groups and join them because I want to like see what people are saying and talking about. And when we started this, when we ran into hiccups, I would post questions on these podcast groups. Like, how do I fix this? This happened. What do I do? And no one had good answers, like nobody. And these are supposedly people that have been doing it forever. And I don't know why I'm surprised by this because I'm in IT and I work with people that have been doing their job for 10 years and they're complete total idiots. Yeah. So, but the same holds true for these people, and not everyone, obviously some are better than others, but these people have been doing podcasting for supposedly, 10 years or whatever. And they don't know anything. I'm like, how do you fix this in Audacity? And they're like, oh, you want to do this? And I'm like, no, you don't. So that's not right. And then I'll figure it out. So yeah, I became a bit of an Audacity wizard by being forced to fix stuff. Mostly from Blaine's furnace in the background, having to fix that all the time.
A little bit of background
So
noise.
In these podcast groups, is it just people talking about other podcasts, or is it like a bunch of...
depends
mostly
which one you're in.
Yeah.
You're thinking of Outdoor Podcast Junkies, aren't you, Blaine?
Yeah, I was gonna say mostly your own.
That's a podcast. Yeah, that's a group too, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Outdoor Podcast Junkies. It's ran by Steve Angel from Traditional Outdoors. Good dude, super good dude, and crazy intelligent. We're both in IT, and he works with Microsoft Azure, which is machine learning like AI kind of stuff. Like Steve is terrifyingly intelligent. But he runs Outdoor Podcast Junkies. But no, there's some of the groups are like just filled with self promotion, which are like completely pointless if you're asking me. Because if you are asking me, a podcast creator, to go listen, review, and like critique your podcast, I'm not going to, because I don't have time, because I'm too busy making my own podcast. But people don't get that.
I'm glad you went there, because I'm like, not interested. Like,
yeah, no,
stay
all
in
the
your
time.
lane, put the blinders on, and haul ass. That's
yeah, yep.
Like I get that all the time. Hey, have you listened to this? It's like, man, I got time to get my head, away from bow hunting with the Joe Rogan podcast, and then I'm back into doing my own shit. Like, I very rarely, I think I've listened to 2 of your guys' episodes. I haven't listened to another hunting podcast, and I don't know how long. I don't, it's been a long time. I listened to mine to make sure they uploaded good, and that's it.
Yeah, I don't even. Once I press upload, I
listen to ours if I'm not on it, and then I listen to yours, and then I listen to Firecast. I listen to ours if I'm not on it, mostly just so I know context of the. I do listen
to Aaron's a little bit, yeah. But I just too busy, man. I just don't have time. There's too many podcasts out there anymore, and
I drive a ton for work, or like with what I do for work, I'm either in a truck or in a splice trailer where I can just listen to stuff all day. And if I listen to music all day, I just go nuts. So I have plenty of time. I have my commute on Monday and Thursday is 3 hours. So
geez,
I get lots of podcast or audiobook time.
Yeah, audiobooks would be cool. Yeah,
I need to do more audiobooks.
Yeah, I found the same thing with the YouTube group channels. I got invited to one time, and it was just subscribe to me. I was a part of that group, I think, for probably 10 minutes. I'm like, see ya. I'm like, why am I gonna no, like, shit's stupid. So stay in your lane and create content.
That's every time people are like, subscribe and critique my thing, I'm like who is your audience? Oh, well, these people, and why aren't you talking to them? Like that, like there has to be Facebook groups that are connected to these. Yeah. And like, I'll just like look it up, and it's like, here's a group with 200,000 people in it. Go join that and talk to people in there.
A lot of
blows my mind.
A lot of the questions are just like, how do I get more listeners? It's like, well, have good content. I don't know what to tell you. Just make good stuff, and people will listen to it.
Yeah, there's things that I would suggest. Listen to Gary V. Listen to Nick Nimmin, Brian G. Johnson. There's a lot of guys out there with YouTube channels that you can apply to your content on podcasts. Yeah. And so I listen when I'm not listening to podcasts, I'm learning on YouTube what I need to do to better my platforms. So especially on YouTube, I'm about that close to not uploading my podcast on YouTube anymore. Just because I think it's hurting my video numbers. My video numbers are not performing near as good as they were about a year ago.
Interesting.
I think it's because like the subscribers see that you uploaded just the podcast, and you're like, well, that's not what I want to see.
Well, I'm not losing subscribers. I'm losing views.
Right, but like they see that it's a podcast, and they open it up. They're like, well, that's not what I joined this channel for.
When I a while ago, like when I would upload, it was like 1,000 views like that. Like people got the notifications, they go on there and watch it. Now it's like a couple hundred, and my retention is horrible. I'm making less money, so I'm trying not to, or I might just create a separate YouTube account that I don't really care about, and just because I only get like, if I get 200 download or 200 views on YouTube for a podcast, that's pretty good. People don't go onto YouTube to listen to podcasts, especially when there's no video. So I think I'm shooting myself on the foot there, and it might be too late. But my views has absolutely gone downhill. So I've been researching if the algorithms are screwing me because of the podcast.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that's fascinating.
We just go on sharing sprees once we upload a new episode or whatever. But we've noticed that we get throttled by Facebook because we don't pay for it. Like we do it all organically, but we'll get. What's our highest one?
We do about the same. We do about the same amount of shares every week within different groups that allow it, and I mean, I think our biggest reach off one episode, off one post was, I don't know, 45,000-50,000. And then I mean, when you're putting it in front of groups that have 100,000 people in it, like it helps. But then like we'll do it like we're doing it the same time, like the same like every Friday between like 9 to 11 is when I'm doing this. And like we average probably between 25 to 30,000. I think we've got as high as 40, 45. But then times we'll have like 4,000. It's like, that's not true. Like I know Facebook is screwing with this and how it's uploading, or how the algorithm is messing with us. Oh, yeah. Freudian slip there, Missouri meth.
One of you guys needs to become a transgender, and then you get all the freaking exposure.
All right, Blaine. Start wearing a wig.
No takers.
Did you notice how we didn't even hesitate? We both nominated you, Blaine.
Yeah, like
love you.
Yeah,
I love you, buddy.
Most likely guy for that. So,
speaking of social media. I want to get your take on sponsorships and pro staff, and what you like, how you feel it's impacting the hunting industry.
So there's two sides to this to me, because I want people to be involved in the hunting industry in whatever capacity they want, and if that's a pro staff spot. I know some pro staffers that are absolutely fantastic, and I wish they were being paid. They're so good. The guys that absolutely go out of their way, they're messaging you if you have a question or if you ever need anything. They are the ones that get a hold of you instead of customer service, and they're amazing. They know everything about the bow. They've been shooting it for a long time. One of them's a guy named Manny or Manuel from Idaho for Prime, and he's an amazing guy. I mean, I've never met him. He's gone completely out of his way when I was having issue after issue with my Prime, and that is a pro staffer. That is somebody that is not a professional shooter, although he used to be. He is a promotional shooter. He is promoting the product in a good light, and people get that mixed up, that you're a professional, that you go out and you have done a lot of cool shit with that product. There's the field staff right here, and then you have the pro staff up here. Usually they get a bigger discount. So whatever capacity somebody wants to get into the industry with, I'm totally fine. What I'm not cool with, and again, I don't lose any sleep over this at night, because, again, I'm all about staying in my lane. I don't give a shit what other people are doing. If you're saying, and I know you guys are probably on the same page as this because we talked about this before, if you're holding, and I steal this from Jason Phelps, if you're holding a picture of a bluegill and you're telling me how good of an elk hunter you are and how this is the best broadhead you've ever used, or the best pack, or the best bow, or the best whatever, however, you've never used that product, you've never killed an animal, you've never actually tested it, and all you have is you holding a bluegill, then you're full of shit, and you're losing my respect, and plus everybody else on YouTube or in the industry, period. And then also you're delegitimizing that brand that may be the coolest freaking brand out there. So, it's a double-edged sword. These companies need to vet their pro staffers, and then also at the same time, these pro staffers need to be honest with themselves and say, hey, you know what, maybe I'm not there yet. Maybe I need to kill some shit. Maybe I need to put 100 pounds in this pack. If it's August, or actually, let's say right now, if it's June 5th, I'm not hunting until September, but I want to be on the EXO Pro staff. Go put 50 pounds in that freaking pack. Go buy one, first of all. Put 50 pounds in your pack. Hike with it on, every night after you get off work, up and down hills. Get some experience with it. Find out where the friction points are, where the weak points are in the pack, and then approach them into being a pro staff, right? Right. It's not rocket science, but yet these guys want to be into the industry in that capacity without earning it, and that's not right. That's not fair to, first of all, the person that you're telling that's the best pack. That's not fair to you, because now you look like an idiot, and that's not fair to the manufacturer or the brand that you're repping. So that's my opinion. Again, I don't lose any sleep at this, and I laugh at it, and then I do my thing and I create content. So that's my thing. I'd love to hear what you guys think, but I mean, it's like I said, there's great ones out there, and then there's probably the 90% which are full of shit. So, and I would say it's probably the 80-20 rule is probably what it is. But
80-20 applies on just about everything.
Yeah,
kind of scary.
I really like the guys that you can tell as soon as they start talking, like whether you're in person or just talking on Facebook or whatever. You can tell as soon as they start talking which side of that line they fall on, I think, especially in person. Or, if somebody, like I experienced it quite a bit just talking to people at Northwest Mountain Challenge, because I just talk to people. Like I met you there, like actually met you there.
Yeah.
And like, I just wanted to talk to you. Like, that's how I am with everybody though. Like, that's me. I don't need anything from you. If I want something from you, it's information. And like, we can have that through normal conversation. And if, something like some sort of a relationship buds from that, cool. If not, I'm going to buy what I'm going to buy either way. But yeah, I don't understand. Like, you can tell right off the bat, like the guys that are just looking for discounts or whatever, when they show up,
it's all about the discount for most people.
Yeah. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, I have money. Like, I have a good job. I can buy what I want. I'm not married. I don't have kids. So like, I don't like that. I can afford stuff. And like, I understand if you need that, like, I don't know. Guys don't need that discount. Like, maybe, like you said, maybe you're just not there yet. And that's okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, but you need to recognize that you're not there yet. And like the company needs to say, no, man, you're not there yet. Like, I know I like First Light, I wear their stuff, but they've got a fairly difficult barrier of entry to get on their pro staff. Like, at least as far as I know, like there's an application process, and like you have to have some sort of a social media platform and all that kind of stuff. And like, it's not, you can't just message somebody like with, not to put them on blast, but Element Arrows is going through a change. And now I'm seeing a shit ton of dudes pop up and being on their pro staff for, or brand ambassadors is what they're calling them. And I've seen 10 pop up on my feed in the last week. It's like, okay. Yeah. Why? I mean, that's fine, but why? Like, have you ever shot them before? Why do you want to why do you want your name associated with that if you've literally never laid hands on those arrows? Right. And I know a lot of the guys whose names are popping up, they haven't, because I know what arrows they shot before.
Yeah. Well, I think a good rule of thumb is if you approach a company, and this isn't 100% applicable, but if you approach a company about being on their pro staff versus them approaching you about being on their pro staff, I think that tells a lot about the company and a lot about you.
Yeah, if you approach them and they're like, yeah, for sure, let's do this. But yeah, like you said, like all that you've done is you catch bluegill, and you're not approaching a jig company. Like, what's happening here? What are you doing?
Right. Yeah. I feel like I can solidly say, and I guess it's easy to say that until people start writing checks. But if out of like every our podcast will always be sponsor free and pro staff free, I guess you could say. But the one company where I would be like, yeah, like I will be pro staff for you, and I wouldn't even ask for a discount, would be Sam Graffita with Backwoods Composites. Like, that's it. Like, because I genuinely and Garrett, for I guess you don't do you own a trad bow?
I own technically I own 3, but I own 2 that are functional.
Okay. So Sam makes a super curve, a recurve bow, kind of like Borders or Morrison, if you've ever seen them. Nope. But I
curvy limbs, like it's
like real aggressive hooks. It's stupid fast. Huh. But if Sam asked me, like if Sam decided to do pro staff and asked me, I'd be like, yeah, like I plan on promoting your stuff anyway. And really, I think that's the kind of mindset that you should have, is like, yeah, I was going to promote your stuff anyway, but like, if you want to give me a discount to do it, cool. Like, that's fine with me. And I'll sign this little agreement that says I'll post a couple of Instagram pictures. Like, once.
That's how I am. And like the stuff that I use and trust, I have no problem talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, none whatsoever. Here. And I have no problem spending the money on it because I trust it. I know that it's going to work.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yep.
Well, that's another thing that guys need to keep in mind is if I come to Garrett and he's like me with the footers. And he's like, dude, you need to buy these footers. These things are the shit. Buy them from Chris. And then I go and that fails.
That looks bad on you.
There goes, first of all, there goes your opinion. There goes my opinion of you. You know, like, you're putting your reputation on somebody's product that, first of all, they probably don't even give a shit about you. Second of all, that product, it could very well fail. And now you're putting your reputation on the line for somebody in something that you have no attachment to outside of a discount. So you're selling basically your name for like $10,
$20. Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, it in my case, you know, like I could very well easily be on with probably Hunt Tag or, you know, Elk River. You know, Chris. You know, you and I both know Chris, and I don't know how many footers I've sold him. It's probably a lot. You know, how many people I've got to go in there? It's probably a few. I've never asked to ever be paid because, first of all, he's a buddy of mine. I want to see him succeed, and I'm going to buy that thing no matter what. Now, I have, like, I think he sent me, like, a dozen for free one time. That was it. And then I just bought 2 dozen from him. Bought 2 dozen from him. So, you know,
Explain more about these things. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, the footers. So, the best way I can describe them is a sleeve that goes over the end of your arrow, and for like a hidden insert, like a hidden insert for an axis arrow, the hit inserts.
Okay.
It creates a leverage point where it can break off when it hits something hard. I got an arrow up there. My buddy hit a elk in the shoulder, and it just, as soon as it hit the shoulder, it snapped off. So this goes over. It's kind of similar to the Valkyrie idea.
Okay.
Oh, is this what Dunlap makes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Chris Dunlap. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That Chris.
Yeah,
that Chris.
A great guy, and you know he's one of the only ones.
He specializes in the pretty much just footers for axes anymore. Like he makes footers for everything, but like his bread and butter is setting up axis.
I guess I didn't know that was Chris.
Yeah, he's Elk River Archery.
Yeah, great product.
Did not know
great
that.
guy.
I've known about him since I started bow hunting. I mean, forever.
Well, quite a while ago. Well, he's. I remember he was in High Momentum for a while, and he posted that. Well, I learned about him when he posted that like 28 broadhead review or whatever he did. That huge broadhead review. I think I gained a lot of attention.
Yeah, he's a great guy, and so.
Oh yeah, he's a very good dude.
Yeah, I mean, I could be probably on his pro staff or whatever, but. He doesn't even have a pro staff, first of all, but you know, it's pick and choose and just make sure that you understand. You know, since the internet, you know, I've seen this said a lot is that people got way too comfortable saying shit to people and not having any repercussions. You know, people don't get punched in the face when they talk shit anymore. People don't. You know, they're not afraid to tell you what they think because they're behind a computer. And so basically that same mindset has now been given to your reputation. Well, I can have 50 reputations because I'm a part of 50 Facebook groups. Maybe a lot of these guys don't know each other. I'll never see that person. So if I tell them to use this shit broadhead, I'm never going to have anything. Like, it's just there's no accountability. So that's something that I would like to see in the industry change. You know, like I could go on and on and on and on there, but that's my theory.
So what? I guess what do you think is the biggest problem with like quote unquote the industry right now? Like, what do you think it's like gimmicky shit? Because I think that's ours. I don't know if we've taken like an official poll of our hosts, but like every year at ATA, and we've got a bit of a marketing campaign we're working on when ATA rolls around. But like every year at ATA, it's just like gimmick, gimmick. Like it's all it is, and we're just like completely tired of it. And that's like part of the reason why we started the podcast, because we were like, people are literally sinking money and sinking like time, money, and I mean probably the most important thing, the taking of something else's life on gimmicky shit. And like I'm done with it. I'm not going to sit idly by and just be okay with it. So what is your biggest problem? I guess that's ours. I just spoke for us. Sorry.
Yeah, you know, I think, and I think that's a very valid point to speak about what you guys are talking to, especially the gimmicky stuff is coming with the broadheads nowadays, and that's probably the number one most gimmicky thing I've seen out there. There's a lot of gimmicky broadheads, and 99% of them are mechanicals.
Yep.
So, you know, do your diligence when you're buying your product, please. And you know, that's why I don't stick with the broadhead. I'll never be sponsored by a broadhead company because I am not loyal to any broadhead. I am loyal to what works, and I'm loyal to figuring out what works. So I say I want to find out what works so you don't have to. That's kind of my philosophy with testing that shit. But my problem with the industry right now is I was talking about this the other night, and who was I talking about this with? It was someone on Facebook, a buddy of mine, I think, and it was a trad bow hunting group that my buddy runs or owns or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, what do you think the biggest problem is with the trad industry? I'm like, well, archery hunting in general, we need to quit creating these barriers and wedges between trads versus compounds versus crossbows versus rifles versus long-range rifles versus muzzleloaders versus long-range muzzleloaders versus guys using a goddamn spear. Like, we need to just quit with the barriers, quit with the wedges, get on team hunt, get on team outdoorsman, get on team archery, rifle. It doesn't really matter because these vegans are unified. These anti-hunters are unified. They're not arguing over F deer, let's save elk, or F elk, let's save the bunny rabbits. Like, they're not arguing over that shit, right? So we need. They're winning. In I did a recent wolf episode and did a ton of research for it. And we're losing 10-1 on the internet to wolves. They have the best PR agents out there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was about to bring up, too. I was listening to Aaron, the Firecast episode on it earlier, and then his second one with it. Yeah, well, that one and then the one before it.
Okay.
And, like, they might not, they're not all, they're not picking species of, screw the deer, let's save bunny rabbits, but they are all saying screw the hunters, save the wolves.
Yes, they are.
Yep.
Yeah,
they're it's one big voice all behind it for sure.
A very big voice behind very, very bro science points, and if you really look into it, what was that?
I don't even think there's any science on that end.
It's more emotion.
This Yellowstone saved
data collected by other people and emotion.
Yeah, the Yellowstone save the rivers bullshit is such propaganda.
Oh God, I remember when that came out, and I was like, okay, I'm going to research this for 5 minutes and prove it wrong, and that's exactly what happened. It was like, no,
and wolves, and that is like how are wolves good for the ecosystem? How are wolves good for the river? Like, it's all about. That's probably the number one thing you'll see is Yellowstone this, Yellowstone that, and there's nothing to combat that outside of small podcasts like mine. That we're coming out with. I'm spending hours doing the research. I'm finding the research that they've done where they've literally found the points that I would like to make, but they didn't. They nitpicked their own research, and then it's really frustrating. But that's my biggest pet peeve is we are not unified as a hunting community when we should be, and that's my biggest thing. And it's so easy to judge people and to get on a high horse unless you're killing shit with your bare hands, like that dude in Colorado who choked out that cougar. And then
there was that article that just came out like 2 days ago. It was like, now we know why these cougars are attacking people. It was another anti-hunting thing. It was bullshit.
Yeah, and then the guy got attacked because it wasn't an adult cougar. I'm like, get out of here. So there's.
Have you ever? I'll go grab my 7-pound cat and try holding on to her for more than 10 seconds when she doesn't want to be held.
Right.
Good luck.
Exactly.
Now multiply that times 5. And it's a little murder ball that hasn't been eating. Like, good luck. Yeah. Like, good luck. Good.
No, I agree. And we are facing an enemy or an opponent that is winning, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of them winning. I'm tired of them winning the PR battle. I'm tired of seeing all the bashing. Like, I don't give a shit if you shoot a deer 120 yards with your bow. I don't care. Like, if you can do that and that's you and that's your bow hunting, that's your lane, cool, man. Go do it. I don't give a shit. As long as you know you can make that shot and it's a good shot and you think it's an ethical shot, go do it. Or if bow hunting to you is 10 yards using a chiseled point that you made with your own handmade arrow, go do that. But let's get on the same team. It's just frustrating, and that's what it. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that's where I'm at right now, too. I mean, it's just getting old, all the arguing, and it's just...
You're real heavy into the trad community, too, and I see a ton of it from that side of things. Like, you say stuff in good fun, but, like...
Yeah, right.
The trad community is not inclusive. Like, I don't see... Every post I see in trad groups, it's dudes shitting on guys with compounds. It's like, oh yeah, I could kill stuff with a wheelbow too. It's like, could you? Yeah. Could you kill stuff at 20 yards with a wheelbow? Because if you could, you should be able to do it with a stick.
I could kill shit with a trad bow, and I'm going to say that never hunting with it, because I could go kill a turkey in, like, give me 2 days. I could go kill a turkey with a trad bow here in Roseburg. Does that make me a good hunter with a trad bow? No, they're fucking retarded. You know, these turkeys will let you walk up to them. Like, what am I proving? You know, like, what am I proving? I could go kill a fork and horn probably once a week with a trad bow, because they'll stand there and let you shoot them at 20 yards. Like,
yeah,
give me 3-4 months. Let me practice every day. Shoot probably a 50 to 100 arrows a day. I could do it, not a problem. I have the trad bow. Already has a brand new string on there and everything. I could go do that, and I could build an arrow that could get it done. Like, it's work ethic, and I respect the trad guys. It's totally cool, and I'm probably going to get bashed for saying I could get it done with the trad bow, never having to do it. But my buddy did it last year, and he sucks. Like, it took him. He walked up to the turkey, shot at it, missed. Grabbed his arrow, shot it, and, like, it was that. I mean, and he's a trad guy, So a lot of this stuff that you see is first of all, these trad guys, a lot of them I don't think kill anything, first of all. Second thing is that they'll shit on some of the best hunters out there, like Aaron Snyder, because he's using fake veins or fake feathers.
Or he's just using veins.
Yeah, come on, guys. I mean, you're shitting on one of the best ambassadors to your community out there, period. Like, why are you doing that?
Blaine, how many people do you think that just since Aaron made the full, just with the first switch that he went trad for a year, how many people do you think he got into the trad community? And then now,
I would 100% bet money that Aaron Snyder has almost doubled the trad community. Like, I would not hesitate for a second to plop some money down on that.
I would say I personally know, like, among Facebook groups and personally, I know at least 200 people that have switched to trad.
He had me thinking about it, and I have no business doing that yet.
Right. Yeah. I mean, literally.
I catch myself looking at fancy recurves and shit all the time. Like, what am I doing? I bought trad veins, and I don't even shoot the bow that I have.
I did the same thing. I got feathers up in my room.
Yeah.
And when I hear him talk about it, it really resonates, because it's like, it was the difference between a rifle to a bow. And that's like if he's like, if you love being, and we all do, that's why we bow hunt. We love being in the presence and close, and just seeing what these animals do, how they react, and just watching them feed, and hearing the funny sounds they make, when they don't know you're there, and elk fart, and they do all this other stuff. They're noisy creatures. And he's like, if you love that, you would love trad hunting, because that puts you even closer to the animal. You have to be that much more intimate with the animal, to where you can just
takes it to a whole different level.
Exactly. And that is what gets me excited about trad bow hunting. So
2 years ago, I would have never dreamed I'd be shooting a stick bow. Now I have 9 of them right behind me, and I'm hooked. So I mean,
I would like to point out, like, 2 weeks ago, we said that you had like 10 bows, and you're like, no, I've only got like 4 or 5. Now you're back up to 10.
Yeah, I've kind of lost count. I don't know, between risers and limbs and
poor thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've got one that's a family
There's
heirloom.
7 right behind me. So
I don't even know what it is. It's a family heirloom that my uncle gave me a couple months ago. I might work up an arrow for that. I think it's like 50 or 55 pounds. I don't know, but
yeah,
it'd be pretty cool to kill something that's been my family for, I don't know, 50, 60 years.
So.
Yeah. That's pretty neat.
As far as like the trad community goes,
there's a lot of great guys, but there's a lot of guys that just shit on everything.
It's like anything. There are one bad apple can ruin the whole barrel, right?
Yeah, it's not a full reflection on the trad community, but
no. But I will say, that one bad apple. I mean, we do shoot ourselves in the foot, definitely, or we have.
Ever since this stuff, like, I'm glad that Aaron started just trolling the groups, because with all of the buzz about the trad veins, and people are all pissed off. They're like, "Oh, you don't need this. There's waterproofing spray and powder for feathers." And Aaron's like, "Oh yeah, that's super."
Like the Native Americans used in their aerosol can.
Yeah.
Right. No, but I don't know. It's one of those things where, I mean, you wish people would just shut up sometimes.
I'm gonna take a second to gripe about the and man, if you had told me 2 or 3 years ago that just like internet troll Matt would now be diplomat Matt, I'd be like, you're insane. But the whole, like, I saw, well, Garrett, I think I saw you comment on it. Somebody posted, like, there was some, it wasn't PETA, but somebody posted, like, some anti-hunting group was like, oh, you know, save the wolves or whatever. So they posted the link, and I'm pretty sure this is in like a bigger, like, either Colorado, Western, or elk hunting page. I can't remember what it was. But like, he was like, go to this link and like post pictures of you with your dead animals.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, man, like, I more than anyone appreciate a good troll. Like, I really do. But like, this is a front where, like, I feel like we need to be more dignified than the other side, and we are 100% losing that battle. So to kind of circle right back around to your, like, what is the you know, what's the biggest issue with the industry on top of gimmicky shit? I feel like
we don't represent ourselves well
representing themselves poorly is a really big thing. And I did, like, I even joined in on the whole, like, PETA Facebook filter. Like,
I have that. I have a picture of that too.
I joined in on that, and now I look back, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have. But you know, I feel like if people did a better job of actually being willing to sit down and discuss with people, and I follow because I enjoy absorbing news from both sides of the aisle. I follow a couple of left-leaning news website pages, stuff like that. And anytime, like, some type of animal is killed in Africa that's even, like, somewhat controversial, they're always like the first people to post it. And people go on there like, oh my God, trophy hunting, and they freak out. And every time I make a point to go on there and respond and say something along the lines of, like, hey, like, I am a person that supports this style of hunting. I'm making this comment to reach out to people here if you want to have an actual conversation about the African hunting model and why it works. And more often than not, I get people that they will at least engage, and people that respond to that type of comment typically aren't people that are like flying off the cuff. They're like, oh, I actually want to have a conversation with this person. And I don't know how many minds I've changed, maybe a couple, but that's more than what we had at the beginning. And I think hunters do a poor job of representing themselves and the community, especially when hunting numbers are dwindling. And I mean, when all of us are about the same age, like when our fathers and grandfathers die, like, it's going to be tough because our generation isn't having kids nearly at the rate that the baby boomers had kids at, and Generation X had kids at.
And everybody is living in already or moving to big cities, so they don't have that part of the culture is gone pretty much. Because you know, it started with like dads moving to the city to find better jobs or whatever, and then, you know, they just stopped hunting because they didn't have a place to hunt anymore, or else they didn't think they did. And now, like, their kids don't get to hunt or fish or anything. Like, they don't get to go outdoors. So kids are playing video games, all sorts of shit. Right. And that part is gone. So when we decide to try to troll PETA or whatever, it just blows up in our face because it makes us look like assholes. It's like, oh, wow, look at all these dead animals. But there's no context.
We live up to their expectations when we do that.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they want to happen.
Right. Same thing with the trad community thing.
I joke around that the trad guys are the equivalent of barbless fly fishermen. You know, like they're you know, you get the elitists on both sides, and it's just like, you know, we got to get rid of that, guys. We got to get rid of that.
Is that stroking dicks? Is that what that is?
That's what that is.
Stroking two dicks.
Yeah, they're just jerking each other off on both. It's just a big thing of tug of war, man. It's just, I you know, should applaud you for taking that grassroots effort. I reached out to a friend that we were decent friends in high school, and she moved up to Portland and became a feminist, and was talking shit about Africa. Hunting in Africa, and I just got back.
You went there?
Yeah, I just got back when this conversation happened. I said, hey, you know, I'd love to talk to you about this, because if she was like, why, and just starts hammering on, I'm like, if you legit want to know why, I'd love to talk to you about this. And then it went extremely downhill very fast from there, because she went off the rails about me being an elitist male
you're like,
Yeah.
no,
You're a
never
white
mind.
male, Garrett. Obviously,
yeah.
you're
And
wrong.
so, like, I'm like, I don't know what happened to you between high school, but you used to be cool. Like, you used to be, let's party, let's hang out, let's do this, let's do that. And then somewhere she got a big chip on her shoulder. And that's what, no, I feel bad for these people because living life with a big chip on your shoulder like that must really suck. And it takes so much energy. I mean, it's like having this thing in this cage that you have to guard constantly, and it just takes all your energy to guard it, and you don't have time for other shit. It's like, why are you spending all this time on that? And to be honest with you guys, after listening to the Joe Rogan podcast, a lot of them are bots. Like, so the ones that are engaging you honestly and authentically are not the bots, but a lot of those things on there are designed to get you to engage. Mm-hmm. And to echo another thing here that you guys are talking about, I did a podcast about wolves in Oregon probably a couple months ago, and we went off the rails a few times there. I had to edit about 15 to 20 F-bombs out of there, and there's probably about 100 in the episode. You must have listened to it.
Maybe.
Yeah, my taxidermist, he's awesome. But so he was the guest on that one. He's on the wolf panel. But, these guys, and what we said is these guys that say shoot, shovel, shut up, gut shot every one of them, dead wolf's a good wolf.
It's not helping the cause at all. That
is not helping the cause, and I'll just throw that out there. You sound like a freaking idiot. Like, you sound
like
a dumbass.
I just don't say that out loud. I just
we all
on it.
We all
no, just kidding.
My dad saw one today.
I know so many people that do, though.
Yeah, my dad saw one today, probably half an hour from where I live. Half an hour from where I live.
Given the opportunity, I probably would, but just
Oregon, like wolves in Oregon.
Say that out loud.
Yeah, I'll say it out loud, guys. But that's not doing us a favor. And
no, it's not.
I did another episode. Not to keep giving myself shameless plugs here. I did another episode that said, if basically, I think the title of it was, if you buy a hunting license, you are an ambassador, whether you like it or not. And
yeah, absolutely.
And I've done the funny things. I've done the things I preach against before I got into hunting, like the hunting industry. I've strapped a really nice buck to my Celica because my wife didn't pick me up. She fell asleep. So I drove that sucker home with that thing strapped to my roof, blood going down the spoiler, shoved the feet under the spoiler, had it wrapped literally over the hood onto my windshield, drove that sucker through town. People are taking photos. I've done that shit. Does that do anything for hunting? Outside of being in the echo chamber, that's like the coolest thing I've ever seen. That's so funny. No, that does not. That's like a black eye. And so we got to think ahead. I don't ever want to be the dude, and this is how I think, I don't ever want to be the dude at a PETA rally on the big screen saying that piece of shit's why we're here. I don't want that. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that bullet in their magazine. And we need to think like this. And again, we all need to get on the same boat and sing Kumbaya. But that's what needs to happen. We have to learn and get better. I think I did the PETA thing too with the nice meal buck I killed a long time ago. And I think I did that too. But no one's perfect, and there's never too late to start getting better.
Yep.
Yeah.
So but we shoot ourselves in the foot by doing that kind of. We do. It might sound good in the moment, or even
it feels good to say it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's self-satisfaction within the hunting community because
within, like you said, within our echo chamber, like everybody, it's accepted, but we have to police ourselves. Otherwise, someone else, like other people, are going to do it for us. They're already trying.
Let's zing another one here because I sit on this shit all day long, and you guys are finally letting me vent here. So because I can't interview myself in my own podcast, obviously. So
you can sure as hell try.
Thank you for letting me go on my soapbox here. But here's another one. Like, what's a hot button for us to be appealing to the public, to the non-hunters? It's hunting conservationists, right? Like, how many people do you see using that term? Okay. Where does conservation come into making an animal extinct and gut shooting every single one of them? That is not hunter conservation. So you're saying this, and I'm doing this motion again. You're saying this, but then you're doing this, and then people are like, okay, so they're full of shit. So, hunter conservation does not mean wipe out a whole freaking population of animals, granted whether they should be there or not, granted whether it's the same species or not, granted whether they are killing that herd in that area or not. Conservation is a balance. It's not wiping out a whole freaking thing. Minus ticks, we can do that to ticks and mosquitoes. we'll be cool.
Yes,
no remorse. No remorse.
Wolves were here. We did make them go extinct in Oregon a long time ago, and they are bringing them back for right or wrong. I'm not going to get into that. I'd like to see our elk herd and deer herds be better before we did make that move. And the first thing my dad told me I told him when he told me, he's like, Garrett, I saw my first wolf today. Like, lived here his whole life, right? We now have wolves here. He's like, I saw my first wolf today. He called me as soon as it happened. When's the last time he's done that for an elk? When's the last time he's done that for a deer? Like, my first words is like, did you get a picture? I wish I could have saw it. Those were my first words.
Yeah.
So obviously, it's cool to have them out there, but the problem is that they need to be managed, and they need to be managed to a point where we're not moving the goalpost every time we kill 5 or we get 60. So there's another food of thought. If you're one of these gut shot every single one of them, let's kill every single wolf and make them go extinct. But then you have hunter conservationist in your biopic. You're full of shit and you're an idiot. So call me out, bro.
I totally agree. So, and this is something we kind of talked about before, as when we were talking about getting together, because I think that we stand for that, and I think you stand for that. Who else have you, who else should people look to and listen to, that you have interacted with, in the hunting industry, that are kind of trying to shape things for the better? Because I know we've probably got a handful of guys that we could point out, but I'm curious who you've interacted with.
Yeah, so Corey Jacobson, I feel he does a really good job, especially on the wolf issue. He was the first really big hunter I heard to come out and say, I don't hate wolves. I like wolves. I like wolves managed, right?
Yeah.
But I like wolves. And so he's not only has he said that, I think that changed the game for a lot of guys out there. I wish I said it first, but he came out and said it first, and he hit the nail on the head. I don't hate wolves. I think it's stupid to hate an animal outside of a mosquito or a tick, and I say that because I have a tick infection right here. I don't know if the guys are going to do it, but I am on 2 different types of antibiotics because that little cocksucker got infected in my skin. So,
oh man.
So I think it's stupid to hate an animal because the animal's not. There's no intention behind it. It's doing what the animal does, whether it's affecting you, positively or negatively. To hate the animal, I get it if you're a rancher and that stupid wolf keeps killing all your calves. I get it. You can hate that animal, I guess. I don't care. But to hate a whole species and to want to do genocide against a species, I don't get it. But Corey changed the game when he said, "I don't mind wolves. I like wolves. I like the idea of them being managed. I like us being able to hunt them and to control and to be able to coexist." He's one that I really respect after he said that. Another one is, we already mentioned him, Aaron Snyder. He does a lot, especially I heard him talking about being in the photography community and getting a lot of anti-hunters or people who don't hunt. He's now shedding a light in that area on predator hunting, and I think that's fantastic. Yep. Another one... Yep. There's not a lot of us that have come out and said, we're cool with wolves. There's not a lot of us out there.
Right.
But Corey is the number 1. Aaron would be number 2. Jim Shockey. I'm a Jim Shockey fan, dude. I love that guy. He does such a great job.
I think I haven't had cable for a hot minute, but when I did, Uncharted is the name of his show, right? Yep. That was the only hunting TV show I could actually bear to watch, because it was a travel show with hunting incorporated in it, is really what it was. And when I think of Jim Shockey, I think of Ambassador. If I'm sitting down with an anti-hunter, and there's 5 people that I want to sit at a table and talk to them about hunting, Jim Shockey is I want at that table, 100% for sure.
Same with Donnie Vincent.
Yeah,
well, don't steal all mine, damn it.
Stephen Rhinella.
Rhinella Donnie and Steve for sure.
I mean, I'd be curious to hear what others you guys can come up with, but those 4 right there are huge. Probably the biggest. Definitely.
Yeah, Donnie is probably one of my biggest ones, and I know that there's some guys that don't like how I guess really they just don't like how well spoken he is. It's kind of like odd. Like they think that he's trying to like oversell some stuff. I guess I don't know. I think yeah. I mean, I get if you don't like his production style, I guess, but man, like I feel
the wolf though. Like he can't help that he is incredibly smart in the ways that he is. Like
yeah,
that's just how that's the person he is.
Yeah, I will say when he was on the Joe Rogan podcast, did you guys listen to that one?
Yeah, I did.
I felt like he didn't convey, and I say this with the utmost respect, the other side of the wolf.
Yeah, like he focused on they are amazing creatures, but left out the fact that they're
also
they're ruthless killing machines. Like that's all that like that's not all that they are, and like it's not their fault, but
it's just the way they are.
You can't just ignore that.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Like my experience with wolves,
that was a huge opportunity for somebody that is on like that speaks to both sides or tries to speak to both sides. That was an opportunity to be like, listen, yes, wolves are awesome, but also they will rip your face off.
Yeah, and they need to be managed. Like here in Minnesota, we have a wolf population that's getting out of hand. Like our moose population used to be pretty high. I can't tell you numbers off the top of my head, but 10, 15 years ago, we used to have a very high moose population, and now there's basically none. I don't know how many numbers.
Same thing. Same thing's going on in Montana too.
Yep. They have. When I say they, I mean the antis and the people in our capitals, whatever that crap. They've brought hunting, tags. They've allowed tags, and then they've shut it down. Season's down mid-season. It's been on and off for quite a while, but
I've never really understood that. I know there's somewhere like every day you have to call in and like see if one got tagged or not, and then that could just like end your hunt. Like if 10 of these animals, and then like you call. I know rams are that way, and that's a little different to me, I guess. Because like I understand like they like were on the brink of extinction. And
that's how the grizzly thing was too.
Yeah,
for the new one, like when they were going to have the new tags, it was one female could be shot, or up to it was up to 26 grizzlies in total, but only one female.
Right, and
if that one sow was shot, like everybody's hunts are over, and everybody was cool with it. They're like, okay, fine, we'll take the risk.
Yeah.
Yep. Right.
How'd you like to be the douche that shoots that first bear and it's a sow?
Right. Oh God.
I was like, I was second in line, you dick. Yeah.
Yeah. But like here though, I mean, as far as wolf numbers go, that number gets way well, I don't know. It's like
when in Montana, they say it's 30 to 35% above. The anticipated is and then just reading through the last, because I read all the reports now through the ODF&W about the wolf reports. They have directly come out and said towards the very back of the report, I may add, that now we are anticipating 10 to 15% above what we were reporting.
Higher than that.
Yeah, and then also, by the way, we will transport wolves without notice. So, that's
like. You said that you're starting to see wolves by you, and like they've never been there before. So how'd they get there? Where'd they come from? Like, did they travel on their own, or were they dropped there?
I believe that it's probably a mix. But this one, we've had wolves here for a couple years now here locally. It was the Lamola pack, the Crater Lake area. This one was a single wolf. It sounded like it was about 100 pounds, and it. Probably a male, I'm guessing. I don't know.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, what pisses me off is the politics that go behind the management where, what is a breeding pair? Do you guys know what a breeding pair of wolves is considered?
No.
What's it considered? I don't know.
So a breeding pair is a pair of wolves that is together running around, has pups. Two must survive to be considered a breeding pair. If one survives, it's not a breeding pair. So that is
two pups have to survive.
Two pups have to survive till the end of the year. and so that, things like that. I'm like, well, then how? I mean, so you're counting a breeding pair. It could have one pup, and then that's not a breeding pair. Like, how does that make sense? Or you could have a wolf, two wolves, a female and a male that they're going to bang, and yet that's not a breeding pair. And so,
right,
it doesn't really make sense, and they don't count that also as a pack either. So. It's just a bunch of weird kind of bro science there that I don't, again, I don't agree with, but I don't have letters after my name, so my opinion's invalid when you go talk to the ODF&W or you go to these meetings and stuff. So
I was getting real fired up earlier because I was listening to Aaron's podcast or whatever, and then I got fired up by myself on my way home thinking about Oregon's governor sidestepping
unilaterally
the biologists.
Yeah.
Who said that they want, so Matt and Blaine, the state of Oregon biologist from ODFW, right? Like one of the main biologists or whatever, said that they wanted, they support the delisting of the gray wolf in Oregon. And our governor sent a letter that said, no, the state of Oregon does not support the delisting of gray wolves.
Right.
Coincidentally, I think right after she had been to some pro-wolf something or other meeting
seminar. Yeah.
Well, what sucks is that some of these guys on the wolves panels are also part of the anti hunting and pro wolf thing. So it sucks because us as hunters are putting money into the industry to go out and pay these guys that are also putting money into the opposite end of the industry. So it's a lot of this doesn't make sense. But and there's another thing just to kind of segue off the wolves if you guys are ready to do that. I don't get this thing about calling the hunting industry and how that's bad. I get guys that correct other guys. I see it all the time. Do you guys see that?
Or they call it the outdoor industry or something? I haven't seen it.
It's a dirty word. The hunting industry is kind of a dirty word.
God.
Guys just hate saying it. And it's like, okay, pick your battles.
What are we? Yeah, but what are we doing here?
Yeah, and I just seen that quite a bit. Is guys that it's just the hunting industry is just such a dirty word. It's like, well, what do you want me to call it?
Yeah,
unicorn.
Well,
rainbows?
I know. I know, Garrett. I saw you ranting about this. Was the whole? And if you're one of these guys, or I'm sorry, Garrett Fairchild.
Okay,
I saw ranting about this. And if you're,
I know where you're going to go. I'm about to bring it up myself.
Garrett Weaver, if you're one of these guys, I apologize. But the whole harvest versus kill thing, own it, own the fact that you killed something.
Yeah.
Yes, you harvested its pelt, you harvested its meat. But to do that, you killed something else. And as tactful as I encourage people to be now, don't shy away from the fact that you killed something. It's if you're buying a tag, if you're going into the woods with a gun or a bow, own the fact that you're about to end something else's life, and that's and it's something that can't be taken lightly by anybody. I think people need to understand that we understand it's serious.
Right. That's one of the things that bothers me. It bothers me a lot when I see people say, well, yep, I harvested this animal on such and such date. It's like, well, no, you killed it. You might have harvested the meat, but let's call a spade a spade. Stop trying to hide behind words and playing semantics. Mm-hmm. You killed it. Mm-hmm. It's fucking dead because you shot it with a gun or bow or whatever.
Yeah.
Just own it, because inevitably, I don't know how many times, I used to try to gussy it up too, but then, I have some vegan friends and they're like, what, they ask the question, why do you say harvest versus kill? You killed that animal. I'm like, you know what? You're right. I did kill it. And I thought that it looked better if I said harvested. And they're like, no, because you're not fooling us. We know that you had to kill it to be sitting behind it. So why do that? I don't understand. Yeah. It doesn't help our cause anyways, because it just makes us seem disingenuous. It's well, yeah, why are you doing that?
I will say, I wrote an article one time, and then I had one of my Facebook groups kind of tell me what they thought about it. It was about early season blacktails and get it done ASAP for blacktails and how to do it. And I was using the word kill, and then one of them's like, it sounds way better in the article when you use the word harvest. And I read it. I'm like, it does sound better. I mean, it just kind of flowed better when writing it out. because it was how to kill a big early season buck or something like that. And then he's like, I'm not one of those guys, but it just looks better like when you read it. I'm like, so I can see certain scenarios when it does, but I'm on the same page as you guys. I mean, 99% of the time I say kill,
Yeah, for writing purposes, I could see that, because like you're just writing about it. Like, but if you post a grip and grin and then you say harvest with, the animal's normally covered in blood, you're covered in blood, you're holding whatever. If you're not holding up the meat and saying, look at this backstrap that I harvested from this animal, like, no, that you killed it. You're sitting behind your kill. You're not sitting behind your harvest technically, because you killed it.
Yeah, that's
where I'm at with it, at least. But
that makes sense. I never thought about it like that, until you talked about it. And that's a good point. I might have to steal that. Yeah, I mean, you're harvesting everything off of the animal, but you're killing it to get it. So that's a valid point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go
go ahead, Blaine.
Oh,
no, let her rip. I was going to segue.
I was just going to go back around to the wolf thing just quick. I was going to say...
Go for it. I don't know anything about the wolf debate.
I don't know a ton either myself, but just from... Okay, so right here, I just pulled this up from Minnesota anyway. So this is from 2018, but an estimated 2,655 wolves in Minnesota and 465 wolf packs from 2017 to that was a 2017 to 2018 estimate. Well, I can tell you for a fact that there's way more than that, because he's probably just to save him from maybe having people bash him or find out where he lives or who knows what. But a family member is a government trapper, and I know
I wouldn't say who I am either.
No.
if that's how.
No, so I know he's personally trapped and dispatched well over 100 wolves in a season, in a summer, just within 100-mile circle, and that's
My
him
goodness.
alone. And another guy that has killed, trapped and dispatched well over double that. In another area. And that's, I mean, you can't tell me there's only 2,600 wolves in the whole state when two people take out 200 plus 300 wolves
in a relatively small
summer
area, right?
And those are all, I mean, there's a lot of political correct bullcrap rings that they have to go through to do that. And, there has to be proof that it's all wolves that have taken down livestock.
Yeah.
So they have to go through a whole bunch of crap.
File a grievance for it.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, they got to go through a bunch of loopholes to prove that it was a wolf and this and that. And then it's very well done, tactfully done, but it's a bunch of BS anyway. But anyway, I just wanted to put that out there that usually numbers are way off. If you're
trying to figure out how to become a government trapper.
Yeah. Well, he kind of he's been like trapping is his thing, like
right. But I hear there's money in it because the government's the one footing the bill, so they just kind of throw money at you. They're like, hey,
it's a heck of a good job, to be honest.
But it's hard to get your foot in the door.
Oh yeah, I mean he knows people, so
right.
He's a pretty big fish in the trapping industry, or whatever trapping world. But I mean the numbers are, I would just from that experience, are nowhere near what they're telling people. So it's kind of disgusting to me, actually. But
to circle back around to the who do you think is making the hunting industry better? I know I'm personally, and I'm kind of also speaking for the podcast. To speak on the on what our podcast is more geared towards, with heavier arrows and with better setups. One of the main reasons is because anti-hunters use all these horrible shots of an arrow like halfway sticking out of an animal as part of their propaganda, as part of their anti-hunting propaganda. And so I personally think that guys like Brent Hahn over at Valkyrie, Jason Wojciechowicz over at Toughhead, another Garrett and Garrett Schlief over at Grizzly Stick. I think these guys that are pushing the like better arrow movement are also people, in my personal opinion, and probably in the opinion of our hosts, that are pushing the archery industry to be better. And guys like, Aaron Snyder, they're coming out with quality, Aaron and Brian, with better arrows and broadheads, and just basically, any of the guys that are just kind of anti gimmick, I think are helping the archery industry and the hunting industry as a whole, because the wound loss ratio, if you look at like any study that's been done, I know he's a bit controversial, but the Ranch Fairy Troy Fowler, him and his hunting buddies down there keep like really like copious amounts of notes on like everything they've harvested,
and they've killed a lot.
I mean, thousands of animals. And when you look at the recovery rate, like with arrows and arrow weight, like there is almost a direct correlation. Like it's kind of scary. And I'm not gonna like spill the beans on that yet, because we will probably end up having Troy, and I want him to speak to it. But point being, if you shoot better arrows, you have a better chance of harvesting animals. And so I personally think those like guys like that are guys that are really helping the archery industry right now as well. So
yeah, I've talked to Troy a little bit. He's actually reached out wanting to be on the podcast and stuff. We haven't been able to put it together yet, but he was a heavy arrow component guy, or a heavy arrow guy when I believe when I talked to him.
He's a believer in him for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if his. Well, that's kind of why I didn't want to say a ton about it, because I don't know if it's public. I don't even know how I ended up with the document, but I ended up with the documentation on like everything. Like it's him and like there's some guy that helps him out at the ranch. It's like a Hawaiian or Samoan sounded name. I can't remember. That guy, they manage all this data for all these harvests, and like I stumbled across it and I started like filtering stuff, and I was like, let's filter by let's go with this weight and above, and the success rate was like just went through the roof. Interesting stuff. You should pick his brain on for sure.
Yeah, I'd be interested, because I mean, is it for when he hits the animal, like when you actually make contact? Because I'd be curious to see what the miss ratio is too. Just to play the devil's advocate.
I don't know. I'd have to look at the documentation again to see if he has misses logged on there. He may not.
Yeah,
he may not.
Trajectory can be your friend or not be your friend. And I did a podcast. I keep referencing. I've done.
Well, dude,
I've done a few podcasts.
We're hanging out. It's a collab.
You've done a lot more than ours. So.
I did a podcast with Brian Broderick called The Point of Diminishing Returns, and I'm actually going to have a gentleman on the show who is an engineer who mathematically. I had this equation in my head that because there's archery calculators out there, but a lot of them don't take in consideration the efficiencies of bows once you start getting to a certain grain. And
we just talked about that.
Yeah,
you're gonna like our last episode.
Yeah,
that I sent to you. You should listen to.
I will. And it's frustrating. First of all, because then when I do these bow reviews, the guys are like, "Well, that doesn't match my calculator." I'm like, "Well, your calculator is bullshit." So, but second of all. There has to be a point of diminishing returns, and my idea was to get an archery calculator that has you plug in, how fast you can shoot this arrow or whatever your archery setup, and then it tells you what the maximum efficient weight is of the best hunting arrow you can shoot, maximum weight before you start dropping off momentum. And it sounds like Kyle's.
Do you want me to go ahead and tell you what that number is, because we already know?
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me.
Well, I've
heard 8 grains per. I've heard 8 grains per pound or whatever.
I can tell you it's over 20 grains per pound.
Is it really?
Yeah,
that's before it that's where it's more or less.
It starts to it starts to taper. It's still gaining, but it doesn't gain as fast at about 12 grains per pound, give or take. and that's on a modern compound. I'm actually without spoiling too much of the fun. I am in the middle of putting together a test where I will be shooting 10 of the most recent compound bows, all flagships, with 10 arrow weights ranging from 350 to 1250 grains, measuring draw force curves on every single one of them, and measuring kinetic energy momentum from 0 to 50 yards, and giving like a full readout on everything. And I would be willing to bet my bottom dollar, I'd bet my farm, bet my house, that at 1250 grains, kinetic energy and momentum will continue to go up.
But at the same time, you're losing trajectory, which is my problem.
You are 100%.
Yeah,
yes, absolutely.
That's where
that's really like
that's what we talk about the most. Is just choose whatever arrow weight that yields the trajectory you want.
Right.
So I mean, you're basically shooting, because I weighed my bow fishing arrows the other day. You're in the range of a bow fishing arrow when you start getting into 1200 grains.
Yeah. It's typically, so the reason I'm going to 1250 is because that's what a lot of guys go to use to hunt elephant.
Oh, really?
Between the 1,000 and 1,200 grain range. I've got some arrows here that I've
50 grains with a friggin' muzzy.
What's that?
They're not shooting 350 grains with a muzzy.
Oh, right. It's a crazy thing. But yeah, so, and that's, you kind of asked us about like any blowback we've gotten. The only blowback that we've really gotten is from people that don't listen, that I can tell you don't listen to the podcast, because 100 times we've said shoot as heavy, like our basically our entire platform is shoot as heavy as you can, where you are happy with the trajectory, and try and put as much weight on the front of the arrow for flight benefits and for what am I looking for? So it doesn't break. Structural integrity. There we go. And that's it. But like be happy with your trajectory. Don't shoot something that you are uncomfortable with, because then you're going to miss and your confidence isn't going to be there. And just make sure it's not going to break, and make sure you have good arrow flight. That's literally the only 3 things that we really tell people. And somehow I am Satan incarnate for telling people this, which is just amazing to me. Right.
And can I just touch on trajectory a little bit? Because I'm a stick bow guy. And
what the hell's trajectory with the stick bow?
Yeah, because I mean, for me, I like 630 to on up grains. Like I've yesterday or whenever it was, I was shooting a 725 grain arrow, and out of a 50-pound longbow, which technically longbows aren't quite as fast or efficient as recurves, in general. I can still shoot up to 60 plus, 60, 70. I'm still arcing them in there.
Yeah, you shoot far, whereas most guys don't. But the most guys don't understand that even with a compound, like your trajectory, you might have to move your 20-yard pin down some, but your pin gap change less at that longer distance. So once you have that heavier arrow, like I shoot, I'm shooting 430 for my 3D arrows, but I know that like I have my pin set on my backup bow, and that my pin gaps are pretty much the same, and I shoot 550 out of that bow. So like it's not like, yes, I have to have a lower 20, but my pin gaps are still pretty close. Yeah, and I bumped up 120 grains.
You're literally, I mean, it's funny with archery because people that rifle hunters, it's a given that you're going to have
understand this.
Recite if you're going to go from say you're shooting an .6 classic round, right?
The Swiss Army knife of rifles.
The Swiss Army knife of rifles, right? So say you're an average Midwestern hunter shooting a 150 grain bullet, right? For deer.
Yep.
Right? That's pretty common, whatever. And you want to take that same rifle and you're going to go up to Alaska, say, and you want to use that jack of all trades rifle for moose. You're probably going to shoot a 180 to 220 grain bullet, right? It's just probably what you're going to be shooting.
Yeah, probably so.
You're obviously going to be sighting in your rifle for that, right? You're not gonna leave it where it's at with your
I
150
probably would.
grain load. I mean, maybe you would, but in general,
You gain a little dope. Got to
Right.
understand what your load's doing. Like, I don't know. Just
yeah. But
not,
I mean,
not drugs, kids. Not drugs. Data on previous engagement. Dope.
but I mean, it's pretty much common sense, to you're just gonna have to resight in, but it's not like people think,
If we have learned anything about the archery industry since we have started this podcast and tried to grow it, it's that common sense isn't as common as you think it is.
Right.
Well, common sense. Here's I do safety for a living, and common sense. I talked about that all the time with my companies, and I'm not sure where I picked this up from, but I probably stole it from somebody. And, common sense is a unique perspective based on one's experiences. So if they don't have those experiences, they don't have that perspective, and that's how you lose common sense. So it's just guys not going out there and gaining the experience they need to gain that common sense. So I think that's why common sense isn't so common anymore. And, I take it like if I was going to go be an astronaut, and I'd probably do some pretty non-common sense things. I'm like, dude, you undid the pressure release valve, you freaking idiot. I'm like, I didn't know what that is, dude. Like, it's common sense. I'm like, screw you. So that's how I view common sense. But yeah, no, I agree. Like if you hunt for a little while or you get a little bit of experience, these things become common sense. And I think that's why people bash on you guys for saying that, is because they don't have the experience. You're getting bashed by guys that have probably killed that bluegill we're talking about. So
exactly.
But there's always two sides to another story. You got the Tim Gillinghams of the world who shoot super light, super fast. Or you have
and they're successful doing it. Successful as hell.
I have a buddy down here that's killed, I think, 13 rosies in a row now. Every year he's killed the rosies, and he shoots super light, super fast with a hinge, and. I'm like, dude, you and I could not be farther on the other ends of the spectrum. I'm like, I need to get you on the show just to hear that other perspective. Brian Broderick and Brent are not on the same page when it comes to building an arrow and an arrow setup. Like, they are not.
Indeed.
Not at all.
And so I loved hearing Brent's side of the story and having Brian's side of the story, and then letting people get their, I choose, pick what you want and run with it. If it works, get rid of it. Grab something else and figure out if that works. Like, that's how I build my setups. So just to talk about common sense a little bit.
I have a couple questions I want to ask Brian.
Huh?
You what?
I'm a tweener on that, between Valkyrie and Day 6 thought processes. I combine them both.
Yeah,
that's where
if it works,
where I'm landing.
If it works, it works.
Yeah. So
we talk about structural integrity all the time, and then Brent I love Brent. I love his product. However, he advocates for the light GPI shaft, and that's what that part scares me, because
I talked to him about
yes, it is unlikely to break in the front half, but unlikely is not impossible. It's just improbable.
I'm pretty sure. I think it was the guys off of Trad Geeks. A guy was talking about how he was using, he was over 30% front of center, and he was breaking 32%. his arrow on the back end because the knock was splitting the back end of the carbon, because he was using a crazy light GPI shaft, and the structural integrity just wasn't there.
Right.
So
that's the part that I'm worried. Whole arrow. Yeah, that's the part that I'm worried about. And I told Brent that, and he's like, "Oh, you're gonna sacrifice so much FOC." I'm like, I'm gonna sacrifice 3-4%. He's like, what guys will do to get that? I'm like, yeah, I've done it the last 2 years, but I also had an arrow snap off the last foot going through a mule deer on a pass through, and I don't know why it broke, but I don't want that first foot to snap off when I'm shooting an elk. So
right, exactly. So what do we'll let you out of here without you spilling the beans on what you plan on hunting with this year. What arrow setup you're running? We won't grill you too bad, I promise.
Oh, no, it's fine. So I've been sticking with I should be using a different arrow, but right now I'm using my Axis 340s with a whatever.
Great arrow. Axis is a phenomenal arrow.
Yeah, I've been using it for 10 years. I got the Elk River footer on there. It's 1.5 inches long, and I'm shooting just about a 14% FOC. I'm kissing 14%. 400. It's not bad. Yeah, 457 grain arrow. Going, and I haven't chronoed my bow lately, but I'm guessing probably around 270. So
yeah. Well, and seeing that's 270 is a respectable speed where it's like, this is the speed that I'm comfortable at for trajectory. And I see a ton of guys that's like the happy number is between that like 260 to 280 is somewhere in there where they want to be.
I like 280.
Makes tuning a lot easier too.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
Yes, it does.
And man, when you from my experience, and this is when I started delving into heavier front and center arrows, and didn't have the proper arrows to do it. The slower the arrow is, the weaker of a spine you can get away with. Because your 340 might be like a shade weak, but because you aren't shooting 300 to 320 feet per second, you can get away with shooting a decent fixed blade on there because you aren't getting like a ton of dynamic, like a really weak dynamic reaction on it. So
right. Yeah.
Are you sticking with?
Sorry. Go ahead.
Are you sticking with fixed blades this year?
I shot that turkey with a mechanical because I know it sounds bad, but I don't care about losing a turkey as much as I do an elk.
Nah, I'll never really fault people for shooting that mechanical at a turkey. It's a stupid bird.
Yeah, so I got a pass through at 52 yards with a new Rage no collar broadhead, and one of the blades bent pretty good. I think the ferrule might have slightly bent too, but yeah, one of the blades bent. I'm like, okay, that's really impressive. So,
was it from the turkey, or did it hit something afterwards?
I think it was from the turkey.
Did it hit like a rock or something?
Yeah, I was asked that. I think it was from the turkey because it was in this really tall grass, and there wasn't any big rocks around. It was just like this nice tall field, wooded field. Like it was like hay inside the trees, and I didn't see any rocks. It was I think it bent on the turkey, to be honest with you. I think I sent it right in the top of the hips, and then it clipped like the breastplate, and I think it bent on the breastplate.
Yeah, it's a thick bone, man. Yeah. It's a really thick bone on the breast of a turkey.
An elk's thicker, I won't be using it on big game. I plan on shooting the day 6 arrow or the day 6 broadheads. I plan on shooting the Annihilators. I plan on shooting the Muzzy hybrid arrows or the broadheads. I might try the Sever, and if I go to Texas, I'll try the Sever broadheads. Exodus, I'll be trying Exodus, and I'll be trying all sorts of different things. That's that's why I really want to go to Texas this year, is to kill a bunch of hogs and a big whitetail, but mainly is to get experience with more heads. So I did play around with the Hunter GT Pros. And I put weight tubes in those. I put weight tubes in the Beemans. I put weight tubes in the Defender Elites, which are a pretty cool arrow, by the way. Cheap.
Defender Elite? I haven't even heard of it.
Yeah, check them out. If you're into straightness, which I'm not really into straightness, but if you're into straightness, they're .001, and a dozen of them was like $69 on sale.
Not bad. It's a Beeman. Okay.
Yeah, and they're a pretty damn good arrow. I'll be honest with you. For the money.
Man, they are cheap. They're on sale for like $7 each.
Yeah. So I was pretty impressed when I built them up. I put weight tubes inside those so I could get the weight forward where I wanted without having to. I was testing a bunch of other stuff, but so I was testing weight tubes as well. So that's what I'm shooting this year is the 457 grain 14% Easton Axis FOC with whatever broadhead is on it that day.
Did you shoot day 6 last year or?
No,
I thought you said you shot a super heavy arrow last year, or were you just testing a heavy arrow?
Testing heavy arrows.
Gotcha.
I shot the day 6. I watched him get shot in the arrow destruction video I did with Bro, and they did pretty good. They were having a few problems with the components breaking in one spot, but I think they fixed that since then.
Yeah, they had a round 2 with their components.
Yeah, and then my Axis arrow I think won. I don't know if you guys saw that video, but in my opinion,
an Axis with a footer is damn near indestructible.
Yeah,
good go.
Yeah.
It was.
I completely agree.
It survived. It was the only arrow to survive, and it's.
Wow.
I think I still have it, but we were shooting into like angled plates, straight on plates, brick cylinders. Through plywood, and that thing handled it all. It handled everything. The only thing that I think finally destroyed it was a Muzzy Trail Car 3 blade because the back of the blades split it like a banana.
Oh, yep.
Which is that. But yeah, I mean, the Day 6 arrows, I'm a huge fan of them. I tested those, did a YouTube video on them recently, and I didn't do any broadhead tuning or any spine tuning, no knock tuning or nothing. And they shot 5 different types of broadheads without any tuning. All I did was yoke.
That's no liar. You're lying. Lying.
Well, I will say I did yoke tune my bow previously to make sure that I was giving the arrow a fair start. But
Oh, so you
tuned your bow?
I tuned my bow, but I didn't do any tuning to the arrows itself.
That's because you tuned your bow with the arrow, so you don't have to do anything else.
Yeah. There's conspiracies. There's tons of conspiracies. I actually tuned them with my Axis.
Oh wow! Yeah. So you didn't even tune it with that arrow.
No,
but it was tuned.
It was tuned, which God damn me for tuning my bow.
Oh my God!
It's a wild notion. Like as long as you have a good dynamic reaction and your bow is tuned, you can shoot multiple broadheads and have the same point of impact. It's absolutely bananas. It's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, I've done that out to 80 yards just to prove guys wrong. It's just like shut up with that.
No.
Like, I even did it without lining the veins up. Yeah.
Oh, what?
Oh no, God! That was one of the ones I wanted to put on the myth episode for you're
doing a myth
for episode 1.
Oh, yeah. I was gonna do one of those. You guys already did that.
That's the one I sent you.
Oh, that's the one you sent. I'm definitely gonna have to listen to that episode. I'm driving around for work tomorrow, so I'll knock that one out.
We didn't cover them all. I'm pretty sure.
We only covered 4.
Yeah, I was gonna have Chris Dunlap on the show. We were gonna do something like a Mythbusters episode. So
you still should.
Yeah, I might have to listen to yours and steal some of your ideas or something.
Yeah, dude, do it absolutely. What did we do? We did super tuning. Speed calculators, string jump,
did the speed
and fixed blade flight. Those were the 4.
There is one speed calculator that does have a disclaimer on it, though. So
I think they all do.
Do they?
Yeah, we are. We're building one. Well, Rob's already built one that's like that. I can guarantee. Well, it depends on the cam style of your bow, but literally every person we talk to a lot of people that are like, oh, this is what I'm interested in shooting. Like, what do you think my speed will be? And when I plug it in Rob's calculator and then get confirmation later, I don't. And this is like arrows normally well north of 600 grains. I don't think Rob's calculator has been off by like more than 2 to 3 feet per second.
That's impressive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it accurate on the light side though?
What's that?
Is it accurate on the light end? Like
yes. So what he did, and this is kind of like, this was my spoiler alert for telling you like how I know bows don't lose energy until you're well over 20 grains per pound. Is Rob built this calculator shooting his wife's Spirit Elite Spirit shooting arrow. It's a 40-pound bow, arrows down to 300 grains to over 900 grains. And he basically engineered the shit out of this. And he basically took he gave like a bonus for like every amount that it went up. And I'm doing a horrible job explaining this, but he created a calculator based off of the efficiency gain that he got out of that bow. And it seems to be like really accurate. So
that's cool.
We're working on creating that for an online calculator, not just a local one.
What you guys should also do, just while you're doing a bunch of other cool things, is create a thing that you can shoot, and it tells you what your momentum is, like a punch machine.
Yeah. Who? I was just listening to a podcast. It wasn't a podcast. It was a Range Fairy video where Troy was. Oh, it's because Troy shot a hog with like a kid's bow, and it was like a 600 grain arrow or something like that. And when he put in his momentum, like in that calculator, it was like, oh, your arrow is suitable for groundhogs, and he killed like a 125 or 130 pound boar with it. And so he was just like, oh, this is kind of weird. So
yeah, if you look at the archery charts, it says like 65 5 grains for big game up to moose. It's like, and that's kinetic energy. It's like, I don't know how much these charts I trust, man. Like, first of all, a chart that says kinetic energy, I'm going to say I'm not listening to you.
I think that was one of the first interactions you and I had, because I had listened to your Tooth of the Arrow podcast, and I was like, this guy is saying kinetic energy far too often for me to listen to what he's saying.
I noticed that too. Luke's a cool guy, and I was going to ask him, like, why are you using this? I asked Brent that on the episode too.
Yeah.
It's because I don't really blame the guys that are like in the industry for doing it, because it's easy for people to understand, and that's what people gravitate towards. Yeah,
like they understand it, but they're not understanding it the right way. It's disingenuous, because they're like, kinetic energy is, sure, it's important, but not without the momentum value.
Right. Well, but just saying like 80 pounds of kinetic energy is way more sexy than saying 0.62 slugs.
Right, but how are you getting that 80 pounds of kinetic energy? Because we all know that if you get 80 pounds with a 300 grain arrow versus 80 pounds with a 600 grain arrow, the 600 grain arrow wins.
Yep. Actually, last week I reached out to a professor here at one of the local colleges to see when they could come on sometime this summer, a physics professor, to talk about kinetic energy versus momentum. So hopefully we have that guy on pretty soon.
Yeah,
he seemed pretty smart. I read one of his papers and I was like, he's smarter than me. So
just more of the marketing mumbo jumbo.
Yeah, no, it's exactly what it is.
That's another thing we need to do as a collective of influencers or content producers is momentum. I mean, it's not even a heavy arrow thing. It's
just momentum.
It's momentum. It's like, why the hell is that even in there? Like, it doesn't even make sense to me. Like, get rid of that. Get rid of it. We don't need it. It doesn't make sense. Only thing we should be focused on as archers, it's not even an opinion. It's just, I guess it technically is an opinion, but it doesn't have a place. We might as well talk about, batting averages when we're talking about it. Like, it doesn't even make sense. And guys,
right.
I was talking to Brian. He's like, guys over there where he lives, he call it knockdown energy, right? It's like they're not, so it's just a really gross misunderstanding of what it actually is. I mean, I don't know. I was talking to Brent about that, and we kind of both got on a soapbox. But yeah, so I'm glad you guys are on the same page as that. I think as content producers, that's something that we need to educate people on. Man, actually, that'd make a good YouTube video. I might do that.
You should
do it.
Yeah.
Piss a bunch of people.
We'll share it on our Facebook page.
Yeah, I'll be that guy. I want to make a shirt that says "I'm that guy."
Oh man! After we stop recording, I'll tell you some of the shirts that we have thought up for ATA that are gonna stir some shit. I'm sure. I'm really. God, we have to get out there. We have to find somebody to go to ATA and wear our shirts. Anyway, all right. Well, man, we've been rambling for about 2 hours now. Anything else you guys want to cover, chit chat about? I don't know. We good?
Well, we kind of touched on it with the wolves thing, but just in general, who have you interacted with that you think is like-minded, like as far as like the quote-unquote industry is concerned, and things like who's going in the right direction? Like, because we want to promote people that are like-minded and are kind of going against the mainstream status quo. Like, that's one of our main things that we want to do here.
I don't blame you if you haven't hung out with those guys very much, because that's kind of our realm, I guess.
As far as companies, Garrett, or
more
people, like individual,
people, like, because Garrett's pretty deep into his podcast journey and YouTube too. So like, who have you encountered that is along the same lines?
God, that's a good question. We already mentioned a bunch of the guys that we've already talked about. The Aaron Snyders and the Corey Jacobsons and stuff like that. But Chris Dunlap's one. I'd go for the ones that aren't is known. Chris Dunlap, Royce, my buddy Royce from the Bow Hike, who you didn't get to meet. The guy's funnier than shit, and I wish he did more with his podcast, because he could do.
I listened to your podcast with him that you just dropped, and that was pretty good.
Oh, really? Yeah, that was a fun one where Wes talked about getting butt plugged by a trident. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good guys out there in the industry, and I'm drawing some mind blanks, but yeah, the Corey Miller is another great one who's kind of slid under the radar here those last couple of years. I feel like, gosh, who else? I would say the born and raised guys, except Cody would probably be my caveat to that because he's secretly a gear guy. I don't think he likes me saying that, but he knows his way around a bow. He knows his way around an arrow setup, and he's very smart.
Like I don't mind that's how those guys make their living. Mm-hmm. Now it is but before it wasn't. So their heads are in the right place too. Like they're stewards of hunting. Like they are going in the right direction. They're not selling themselves all the stuff that all the brands that they use, they were already using. So I have zero qualms with what they're doing.
Yeah. I like what he gets a lot of hate, but I like Cameron Haynes and what he does for the hunting community. He gets a lot of hate from a lot of guys. I
don't get that. I mean,
some of his bear hunting posts are a little facetious. Where he's
the dude runs a lot.
He's facing a bear with a knife. He's got this knife and he's right on. He's got a really cool photo. I mean, he's got a knack for taking really good social media pictures with a bear and a knife in the picture. And it's like, these guys are like, oh yeah, you'd fuck that bear up. I'm like, man, like 80-pound bear would probably F any human up. And that's like 200 pounds. I'm like, please don't get mauled. So there's a little bit of, Hollywood there, but the guy's legit. I've shot next to him. And
he can shoot a bow.
He can shoot a bow. He is totally legit with the running, the lifting, everything. I've seen it. He slapped my hand going downhill. He was like 3 miles ahead of me on one of his run things. And he's like, keep it up, brother. I'm like, I'm not even like, it's like, oh my God, dude. Like, I hate running, and you're smiling going downhill, like going 15 miles an hour. Like, he's legit.
I'm miserable right now.
He's legit, but he does. I'm a fan of guys that run their own lane, and I'm a fan of detail, and I'm a fan of hard work. That guy does it all. Shoots a heavy arrow. Yep. He's super hard. He's one of the hardest working guys you'll ever meet. And I'm also a fan of the Tim Gillinghams, who shoots a super light arrow. You know why? Because he stays in his lane and he does what works for him. So, there's a lot of guys out there that I don't even necessarily agree with, but they do what they do, and they run their lane, and I love that. So, between Tim Gillingham shooting a 350 grain arrow to, day 6, Brian Broderick shooting a 680 grain arrow, whatever it is, I just love guys that specialize in something. They make it work. They believe in something, and then they share it. And so that's, I guess, my soapbox for the end of the podcast.
Yep. Well, if it works, don't change it.
Yeah, I'm getting pass-throughs on bull elk at 50 yards. So, and that's with a 457 grain arrow going to usually 282 feet per second. So,
yeah, we also, we're also for us, we said it in episode 1, and we probably should create a soundbite in the beginning, but shot placement is assumed. Good shot placement is assumed. But if, once the arrow leaves your bow, you're not in control anymore. So that's why we advocate for a well-built arrow, and then heavier, heavy as you can make it and be comfortable. That's where we're at with it.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I mean, who do you guys look towards? I guess I'd be curious because you guys really know your stuff. It's fun to hear some things that I've learned from you this podcast. So, I mean, who do you guys point to?
Well, I kind of already spilled. I talked about mine already. With
Ranch Fairy,
Brent with Brent and Jason Wojciechowicz or Wojo over at Toughhead. I mean, hell, to be honest, if we're talking about just true inspirations for people that I think did more for the archery industry than others, and they stayed in their lane and they did something incredible, I think Dr. Ashby is one of those people. And there's a reason that Safari Club International has an award named after him. And only one person a year gets it, and it's extremely, extremely difficult. It's basically like the Heisman of hunting for the year for Safari Club International. And he 30 years of research to just be ridiculed by all of the archery industry over here, did it all on his own dime, and no one has really come out with science that proves otherwise of what he did. So
there's been plenty of science that proves that he was
right. Yeah. Yes. But I mean, and there's things that he's kind of, he's changed over the years from, stuff that he said 30 years ago. He's like, oh, well, this is what I ended up finding out later. But I mean, for just true, like somebody I'm like, and Garrett Schleif mentioned this in our last podcast with Grizzly Stick, that they went to ATA 1 year, and there was Ed Ashby, who sitting there, who has killed. I mean, I'm pretty sure I know the number like down within 100, so I'm not going to say it because it's big. It's a lot. It's a lot. Like a lot of animals. And he's sitting there on one side of the aisle, and then on the other side of the aisle is a hunting couple TV show personality, and the TV personality couple had a line like 100 people long to get autographs. And then the guy who essentially made bow hunting in Africa legal, who has killed probably more than anyone in that line combined, is sitting on the other side, like being completely ignored. And like, I just think that's the culture. And that was a couple years ago, but I think that's just kind of the culture of the hunting industry. And that's just why I have even more respect for the guy than I did before, because he did all this knowing he wasn't going to get a ton of glory. And anyway, that's my soapbox.
And
sorry.
Shout out to him for, I'm never really married to an opinion until I'm hardly ever married to an opinion. I'm not willing to die on any idea. I constantly evolve my opinions. My hunting arrow weights seem to get a little heavier every year. My FOC seems to get a tiny bit 1-2% higher every year. So, shout out to him who's willing to change his opinion and evolve with what he finds. It's these guys that are married to these opinions that are half the time they're probably not even close to being where they should be or right, but yet they killed one deer and they broke or had a success, and then all of their opinions is formed on that one thing. Would you rather have a guy that has killed 10 animals and knows everything about something, and is willing to die on an anthill, or a guy that's had 1,000 and says, I don't know, I'm still figuring it out? Like there's something to be said about that. So, I really respect that.
Absolutely.
I'd say that I'm influenced a lot by a lot of people, but usually the ones that, they are more humble. Like, even if, other people hate on them for not being, like, claiming they're not humble or whatever, it's like, no, he's doing the work, so I can't, like,
that's,
I have
that's why I don't get the hate with Cam, because everyone's like, oh, he's the most arrogant, like, whatever, they say all this. I'm like,
is he arrogant, or are you just insecure because he's doing things that you could never do because he's years of training? Like, he's
showing his hard work. Like, good on him. Like, hell, if I get up and start running 15 miles every morning before I go to work, I'm probably going to post an Instagram video about it. Damn it!
I post it when I run 3. I ran 3 miles. Give me a freaking cookie.
Posted your 3 miles, and I'm like, I don't think I could run 3 miles right now.
I missed my goal yesterday. My 3-mile run yesterday. I missed my goal by 2 seconds. I was pissed. Yeah, and I blame it on these bikers, but really I could have just ran harder. But I blame it on these bikers that were like blocking the freaking bike path, and I had to run like 10 yards around them. I'm like, you freaking bastards. But again, I could either do that, or I could just say, what, next time I'm going to run harder. I'm going to get it. So. But I said this on my talking about Cameron Haynes. I said something to the effect that they don't make statues of critics, and when you have a guy that's out there doing exceptional things, it exposes mediocrity, and mediocrity is another word for average, and most people are average and they don't like being exposed. So, and I think that's what Ashby does. He exposes a lot of people's setups. I think you guys expose a lot of people's flaws in their thinking, or get people to throw a wrench in their head, and like it just grinds their gears that they don't understand why you're thinking like this. And so I value your guys' podcast and what you guys bring, because I've listened to a couple of them, and I was just kind of smirking the first time I listened to them, like, these guys don't give a shit. Like they don't care. Like, they are going to say what they think, and I respect that. So I'm kind of the same mind, and I don't get a lot of feedback because I think guys understand that. I'm so unbiased. It don't matter. Like I don't have an agenda. My agenda is accuracy and effectiveness and what works. I think you guys are of the same mind. So.
Yep. They're cut from the same cloth.
Yes. You guys probably from the better side of the cloth, but.
I wouldn't say
it's
that.
Debatable. You haven't known us long enough.
Might need to
make
get
that
washed.
opinion.
But yeah, so thanks for having me on the show, guys, and I would absolutely love to collaborate in the future. And if you guys ever have an episode, or if I can ever have you guys on the show, we'll have to put something together.
Definitely.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
absolutely.
sure.
Well, you and Garrett aren't too far away from each other, so if you guys ever want to meet up and knock something out, then by all means.
Yeah, I owe you some Traeger pellets, anyways. So.
Nonsense.
Blaine, any signing off words?
Not really. No. I'm
Well,
good.
fine. I didn't
fine
want you to
then.
talk anyway.
Blaine the man a few words as it is.
Yeah, I feel bad. I feel like I talked most of the podcast, so sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, it was great. Do you do any sort of fun sign off thing or no?
I'll see you on the next one. Bye. That's my thing.
There. All right.
My wife makes fun of me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there she is.
Well, there's your sign off, and I guess we'll sign off. Then this whole thing will be done. So hey, thanks for coming on, dude. I really appreciate it. I'm glad we could get together and do this.
Likewise, guys. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Yep. Stay lethal and don't forget the olive oil.
There you go. See ya.